Legal gun owners in Maryland may have to pay more to carry a weapon, including local law enforcement.
It's just another unconstitutional mandate.
I think this bill will actually hold them accountable.
A closer look at the controversial liability insurance bill and why some say it will make communities less safe. A reignited debate over safety in city schools.
We can sit and talk about safety outside, but it ain't safe inside either.
Why some city council members are pushing to arm school police officers. The garage of Ravens fans' dreams.
If it's purple, then it's in here.
We take you inside this diehard fans' massive collection and tell you what you need to know for Sunday. Plus, if you're heading to the game, be ready for some rain. Meteorologist Wyatt Everhart is timing out this weekend's weather maker hour by hour.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Well, Ravens fans can feel the excitement across Baltimore. We are 2 days away from the AFC Championship game. On your left, a look at M&T Bank Stadium, where the Baltimore Ravens will face off against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, if they win, they'll head to Super Bowl 58 in Las Vegas, which you can see on the top of your screen. Tonight, we have team coverage of everything you need to know before the big game on Sunday. But first,
we know that firearms issues and auto thefts are really the major concern, and that's what we want to. That's where there's objective data that we've got to have a different approach.
Fox 45 News presses lawmakers on the crime crisis across Maryland. Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson. Thank you for staying with us. Tonight, we have team coverage on the latest efforts happening in Annapolis to curb violence across the state. Fox 45's Vincent Hill will join us in a couple of minutes with a closer look at a gun bill that's causing controversy on the House floor. But we begin with Mackenzie Frost. Mackenzie pressed Senate President Bill Ferguson on the status of juvenile crime and other violent crime proposals.
Juvenile crime remains central.
Introduced by Howard County Democratic Delegate Terry Hill. The bill already sparking controversy.
The Second Amendment is very clear. It doesn't say that you have the right to bear arms, except if you have firearms insurance.
Republican Delegate Ryan Narosky calling it unconstitutional and expensive.
We see this over and over and over again here in Annapolis. It's just another tax on the poor.
The bill seeks at least $300,000 of liability insurance for anyone to wear and carry in the state of Maryland, including local law enforcement.
I think this bill will actually hold them accountable.
Attorney Vernon Brown-Lee says it would lead to greater police accountability.
Now you have insurance companies that are going to say, hey, look, we don't want to pay, $300,000 each time that you discharge a firearm.
But not so fast.
Absolutely ineffective,
says former police officer Joe Ested.
Who's in that room saying, oh, this is a good idea?
Ested says the bill wouldn't reduce gun violence on the streets.
Whoever thought of this idea don't understand the criminal element on the street. These guys don't do it the right way. They're not going to the gun store and filling out applications to, purchase a gun legally.
But says it would lead to people feeling less safe.
You're making it difficult for everyday, hard-earning, working people to go out and purchase a gun to protect themselves,
while criminals continue to wreak havoc on the streets.
Let the citizens live their lives and protect themselves, and let's zero in on the criminal element that's causing the problem.
And Delegate Narosky says if that bill does pass, it would immediately be challenged as unconstitutional. Meanwhile, I spoke with an insurance expert here in the state who says the type of policy the bill is calling for doesn't even exist. For now, we're live. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
All right, Vincent, thank you. And that brings us to our question of the day. Do you think lawmakers are more focused on protecting criminals or legal gun owners? 90% of those who voted say criminals. Head to foxbaltimore.com/vote to weigh in. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost will be in Annapolis for this year's legislative session for the next 2 months. Keep up with our coverage on air and online at foxbaltimore.com.
We're just beyond pumped.
Expect the energy to be really high. We got it all the way.
Well, fans across the city are gearing up to flock to M&T Bank Stadium this Sunday to see the Ravens take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, fans say this could be the biggest game yet for the city. It's the first time in more than 50 years that the team is hosting the AFC Championship, and whoever wins, of course, heading to Super Bowl 58. We have live team coverage. We are talking with fans, tracking how the team is getting ready, and looking ahead to what the weather will be like come game time on Sunday. So let's start with Rocco DeSangro in studio right now. Rocco.
Yeah, Kai, John Harbaugh has been in this situation before. It's his fourth trip to the conference championship game as a head coach and his first time with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. While the lights are brighter and the stage is bigger than your typical regular season game, the goal has never changed. The Ravens and every other team in the National Football League set out at the beginning of the year with hopes of winning the Super Bowl. They've had their eyes on the prize all year long, and despite being one win away from playing in the biggest game in all of football, for Harbaugh, the mindset and mentality remains the same.
Well, I mean, it's a game. That's the bottom line. It's a football game. It's against a very good team. Yeah, the opportunity, the reward to win one game is great. You know, everybody understands it. You put it in perspective. You got to play your best football against the best teams, but it's a football game. You know, so all the things that matter in a football game matter in this game.
Harbaugh says the toughest thing in the world to him is winning a football game. At times, the Ravens have made it look easy, but they expect a battle this Sunday against the Chiefs. Kai.
It'll be a battle indeed, Rocco. Thank you. And a big question tonight, what will the forecast look like for game day and all those festivities this weekend? Let's check in with meteorologist Wyatt Everhart. Wyatt?
Hey, Kai, I mean, look, the bottom line is we're already seeing the record warmth we had today begin to release, okay? We're already down in the 50s and 60s out there, and I think as we go into the day tomorrow, you'll notice that fresh chill arriving. We're also going to be looking for rain to be arriving out of the southwest. Large system here on the Gulf Coast. This is going to bring the rain steady and heavy tomorrow night, Saturday night overnight, and in the early part of the day on Sunday. Optimistic we'll be on the back edge of the storm by the time we get to kickoff Sunday afternoon. But even then, we're talking showers and much cooler temperatures. The detailed forecast for Sunday and beyond is coming up.
All right, Wyatt, thank you. Well, with football events happening this weekend, public safety is on the minds of city leaders. Baltimore Police Commissioner Richard Worley says the department is on high alert, making sure fans can celebrate safely.
I'm very happy. We canceled leave for members yesterday. It went out today, so we will be more than staffed for the stadium and anything that occurs afterwards. We will be prepared for any, hopefully, celebrations that occur, that they will be peaceful, but we'll be ready if anything changes.
Across Baltimore and beyond, fans are showing off their love for their team. Fox 45's Jeff Abel has been talking with fans, including one who spent big bucks to make it to the game this Sunday. Jeff?
That's right. Some fans are shelling out tens of thousands of dollars for a single seat at the stadium on Sunday, and you will be hard-pressed to find anyone who isn't bracing for a victory.
On the edge of the city, there's a place where purple is never out of season.
It's kind of like, oh my God, like she really likes it.
Esther Corbett was never a fan of the color purple until she became a fan of the Baltimore Ravens.
From Ravens umbrellas to pictures of, the players. I have tons of trays.
Her Ravens collection started with a game program, and now, more than 25 years later, this longtime fan has amassed a garage full of footballs and photos. If it says Ravens, Esther Corbett is likely collecting it.
It went from, oh, she's just bringing this, and then it was, oh, when'd you buy that blanket? Oh, I didn't know we had Raven sheets. Oh, I didn't know we had a Raven comforter.
Corbett is one of many fans who are going the distance for their hometown team.
I won $76,000.
This Montgomery County man paid $73,000 for 2 tickets to Sunday's game. He paid for them from his winnings from a sports bet.
Why don't we take the $76,000 and use it and just buy the most expensive ticket we can get? Obviously I know I could get a cheaper ticket, but just get some attention.
Ticket prices have since dropped. Some fans have paid as little as $300.
Yeah, those are the days.
Esther Corbett is putting no price on her Ravens salute. Win or lose, the team's contribution to this city, she says, is priceless.
We're all on one good accord. Nobody's arguing with this politician and that politician, school stuff, carjackings. We're all happy. And this happy space feels good.
And her most valued possession in that garage is a signed jersey from former Raven Steve McNair. We're live tonight. Jeff Abel, Fox 45 News.
Oh, Baltimore remembers him and misses him indeed. Jeff, thank you. Well, some of you have been sharing how you're showing off your purple pride ahead of the big game. Ashley sent us this adorable photo of the Ravens' youngest fan, Brinley. Brinley's adorable. She is only 3 months old and has to be one of the cutest fans we've seen. Look at that smile. And Valerie sent us this photo of her and her friend decked out in all their Ravens gear. Valerie says her friend is actually a Buffalo Bills fan, but this weekend she's rooting for the Ravens. That's a good choice. And whether you're heading down to the stadium or going to a watch party, we like to see how you're celebrating and cheering on the Ravens. Scan that QR code on your screen. That will take you to foxbaltimore.com, where you can upload pictures and videos, all powered by Stacklow. Well, the Ravens kick off at 3 Sunday afternoon. And after the Ravens game, you can watch the NFC Championship right here on Fox 45. The Detroit Lions and San Francisco 49ers meet for a spot in Super Bowl 58 as well. Catch all the action beginning at 6:30 p.m. Still ahead on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock tonight. More than 11,000 cars were stolen in Baltimore City last year. Data shows the problem is only getting worse. The staggering number of cars stolen in just the first month of the year, and why critics say Annapolis is partly to blame. The debate over whether to arm school resource officers in Baltimore City schools has been reignited. Why one city councilman is arguing it's necessary to keep students and teachers safe. Questions are swirling over what actions lawmakers in Annapolis are taking after a Project Baltimore investigation found a 15-year-old convicted rapist was attending a Baltimore City public school. We take a closer look at the law that allowed that student to be there, coming up after the break. Tonight, there are questions over what action state lawmakers are taking after a Project Baltimore investigation found a 15-year-old convicted rapist was attending a Baltimore City public school. Project Baltimore's Chris Papps explains under current state laws, some juvenile sex offenders are allowed to be in class with other students.
Through our investigation, we found there could be many convicted sex offenders inside Maryland public schools. This data is provided by the Department of Juvenile Services for fiscal year 2023. It shows statewide juveniles were charged with about 338 felony sex offenses. We can't see how many individuals were charged, just a number of offenses. Out of the charges that have been resolved, about 48 resulted in probation, meaning the juveniles who committed those 48 sex offenses could have ended up back in school, just like the student at Patterson who also received probation. Records show in December, the Patterson student entered a plea in Harford County to second-degree rape, a charge that does involve intercourse. The victim's mother tells Project Baltimore her daughter, who is a relative of the rapist, was 3 when the incident happened last May. And she believes laws need to change.
What I'm, trying to do is make sure that this doesn't happen to another child or family. And I'm, in a sense, trying to seek justice for my child.
For every offender that they're catching, there are others that are out there. And the school system in general, the General Assembly, the whole state needs to take this more seriously and take a more proactive stance and really protect kids from sex offenders.
Project Baltimore has reached out to state lawmakers asking if these concerns will be addressed during the current legislative session in Annapolis. In the coming days, we'll bring you their plans. I'm Chris Papst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Well, Project Baltimore wants to hear from you. Do you have a story to share about your child's education or a concern you'd like our team to investigate? Call the tip line on your screen or send an email to projectbaltimore@foxbaltimore.com. You can also find us on social media. Making headlines right now, Maryland Congressman Dutch Ruppersberger has officially announced he's retiring. The congressman has represented Maryland's 2nd congressional district since January of 2003. Before that, he served as Baltimore County executive between 1994 and 2002. His announcement video, in that, Ruppersberger thanked his district and all Marylanders for trusting him with what he calls a tremendous responsibility. During Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, we spoke with a political analyst who says we could see Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski running for that seat.
He's going to be the only legitimate person in the room. There may be some other gadfly type of candidates and minor candidates that are going to try to get their name out a little bit, but he's going to be the one big candidate. And this could also help Angela Alsobrooks in her race for the Senate because he has endorsed her. So you may see a cross endorsement, but also his support in that congressional district could lead some voters to vote for him and her. And considering the way that race is going right now, that could really help both of them.
The filing deadline to run is February 9th. Making headlines nationally, a jury has decided Donald Trump must pay an additional $83 million to columnist E. Jean Carroll, who says the former president damaged her reputation by calling her a liar after she accused him of sexual assault. Today's verdict is the second time in 9 months a jury addressed Carroll's claims that Trump assaulted her in a New York department store in 1996. In May, another jury found Trump liable for sexual abuse and ordered him to pay $5 million. Following today's decision, Trump's lawyers said they will appeal the verdict. A Baltimore County woman is in custody after police say she went on a violent crime spree in Prince George's County. My police chief says he's never seen anything like it.
Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley pushing back on pressure to end her campaign. I'm Atrell Nashar with why she says the race isn't over yet.
Temperatures are cooling down out there, and we're falling to about a 100% humidity level. In other words, the air temp and dew point coming together. There's going to be some patchy fog to deal with right around Baltimore and along the Chesapeake Bay. Also, those temperatures hovering in the 40s overnight. So obviously, the record warmth of the day is gone. We'll talk about big changes for the weekend from Saturday right through Ravens game day Sunday. It's coming up.
All right, Wyatt, there's a purple fog at the Inner Harbor tonight because the Ravens are getting ready for the AFC Championship game on Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs. Back in a moment. Tonight, the Republican National Committee is backtracking on a resolution that would have declared former President Trump their presumptive nominee. National correspondent Atra El-Nashar reports on the calls for former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley to drop out of the race and why she says she's not going to do that.
The odds are stacked against her, but Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley is resisting calls to drop out after coming in third in Iowa and second in New Hampshire.
I wanted to be strong in Iowa. We did that. I wanted to be even stronger in New Hampshire. We did that. I want to be even stronger in South Carolina. We're going to do that. And then we're going to go on to Super Tuesday.
Reacting to news the RNC was considering a resolution to make former President Trump their presumptive nominee, which she believes came from Trump's team.
You can't bully your way through this process.
After news of the potential resolution got backlash, Trump posting on Truth Social, "I should do it the old-fashioned way and finish the process off at the ballot box." So what does lie ahead at the ballot box? A 538 average of polls in Haley's home state of South Carolina shows Trump with roughly 63% support and Haley with 25%. It's a winner-take-all state, so whoever comes out on top in South Carolina's February 24th primary will get all of its 50 delegates. Delegates are one thing. 1,215 are needed to secure the GOP presidential nomination, but keeping a campaign funded long enough to be competitive is another. On Wednesday, Trump attempting to stymie Haley's funding, writing in this Truth Social post, "Anybody that makes a contribution to Bird Brain from this moment forth will be permanently barred from the MAGA camp." Haley says she's got the money, raising $1.6 million since that Truth Social post. The vast majority, she says, came from small donors. Two mega donors, Reid Hoffman and Andy Sabin, pulling back their financial support for Haley. Sabin said this the day after the New Hampshire primary.
You have to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them. You got to know when to walk away. It's time for Nikki Haley to walk away.
Haley insists now is not the time. In Washington, I'm Atra Al-Nashar reporting.
And that brings us to our national question of the day. Would you be satisfied with Joe Biden and Donald Trump as the 2024 presidential nominees? 54% of those who voted say no. To weigh in, head to foxbaltimore.com/vote and click on the Pulse tab. Well, the results are in for Thursday's question of the day. We asked, do you think social media is an environmental health toxin? 89% of those who voted say yes. 11% said no. A Baltimore City councilman argues Baltimore City school resource officers should be able to carry weapons. We press state lawmakers on whether they'll be able to do that. And there are efforts to change eligibility requirements for police in Baltimore and across the state. Why some say that would be a bad idea. We're following three big stories at 10:30 tonight. New concerns over efforts to address Maryland's police officer shortage, while some say lowering recruitment standards could be a slippery slope. Alarming numbers showing car thefts in 2024 have nearly doubled from this time last year. The solution, one former FBI agent says, could curb the surge. And should school police officers be allowed to carry weapons inside Baltimore City schools? The back and forth happening at Baltimore City Hall.
I talk to teachers, scared to death.
Well, that debate over whether or not to arm school resource officers in Baltimore City reignited tonight after a city council hearing on school safety this week. Fox 45's Keith Daniels joins us with a closer look. Keith?
Well, Kai, as you know, it's an issue that's repeatedly come up in Baltimore City. Proponents saying it's all about school safety. Opponents saying it's not good for students. Still tonight, for one city councilman, there's a push for change. At Baltimore City Hall,
we got a safety problem in the city.
Councilman Robert Stokes has long been sounding the alarm. Once again, this week.
Well, we can sit and talk about safety outside, but it ain't safe inside either.
Stokes at a hearing on School Safety Wednesday, calling for Baltimore City Public Schools resource officers to be allowed to be armed. while inside school buildings.
Suppose we have an active shooter in one of our schools. How are we going to protect the teacher? How are we going to protect the aide? How are we going to protect the students? And I'm saying something that nobody else probably would say. Stop handicapping our school police. If they police, let them do their job.
Under current Maryland law, school resource officers have to lock up their guns at the start of their shifts, retrieving them only when needed. Baltimore City school resource officers are the only police officers in the state who cannot carry weapons inside of schools. Proponents, including the American Civil Liberties Union, believe armed officers in schools would disrupt learning. But for Stokes, opposition, especially if there's a need when quick response is crucial.
But I've talked to school police. You know, the question is, what happens when you got an active shooter in the school? What you gonna do? You know what the answer was? I'm running with the students.
The hearing at City Hall this week comes after a 15-year-old student was caught last month at Dunbar High School with 3 guns on campus. A source close to the investigation says the weapons were loaded, giving reason for Stokes to push lawmakers to act now. We reached out to key members of the Baltimore City delegation in Annapolis, asking them, what's your reaction to Councilman Robert Stokes' concerns about having unarmed school resource officers in school buildings? Should those officers be allowed to be armed inside school buildings? And is it an issue that you intend to address this session? Only Delegate Marlon Ampry responding, saying, for now, in this session, I'm focused on trying to secure the needed funding for Baltimore City schools. Meanwhile, for Stokes,
I talk to teachers, scared to death.
well, Sergeant Clyde Boatwright, president of the Baltimore School Police Union, also agreeing with Stokes. He's also pushing for his officers to be armed. Boatwright has also talked about guns being found inside schools, rather saying guns are, quote, simply too available to young people. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Across the state and in Baltimore City, there are efforts to evaluate and change eligibility requirements for police officers. While some say that move will help Maryland recruit more officers, some say it could actually make things worse and be a major problem for departments.
While it may result in being able to fill those positions more quickly, it also results in filling those positions with people who are less qualified and potentially more likely to not perform as well.
Fox 45's Jessica Babb is taking a closer look at both sides of this debate.
Some say changing the police eligibility requirements would make sure good candidates aren't excluded and could make sure there's more diversity in police departments to better serve communities. But some law enforcement experts say changing requirements could be a slippery slope.
We don't have enough officers.
A crime-fighting crisis in Baltimore City and across the state.
We have a crisis-level shortage in police officers.
The Baltimore Police Department is currently operating with a staff deficit of approximately 500 to 700 officers.
The solution? There's legislation on the table in Annapolis, which would remove the citizenship requirement for some applicants with military service.
It would allow legal permanent residents who have fought for our nation, who have been in the military and been honorably discharged, it would allow them to apply to become police officers.
Something Senator Kagan says several states already allow.
If they are willing to serve our communities and put their lives on the line again, keeping our neighborhoods safe, we should welcome them.
And mayoral candidate Sheila Dixon's public safety plan with a focus on recruitment and retention.
We got to get creative in that.
She wants to evaluate eligibility requirements for police officers. She says she will evaluate requirements around spelling tests and written exams, a candidate's past and present affiliations, adjusting how crimes committed as a juvenile are viewed, financial history, and adapting the physical fitness standards to allow for improvement in the academy.
I think any effort to try to fill open police positions by reducing minimum professional standards for applicants or for candidates for law enforcement positions is a bad idea.
But if you don't have police officers who didn't do well when it comes to writing tests and things like that, that's going to be a real problem. They're talking about looking at an applicant's past and present affiliations. Now, what does that mean? Were you a street gang member when you were young? Were you part of a white supremacy group when you were young? That is, I believe, very much a slippery slope.
And it's not the first time changing police eligibility requirements has been discussed. Previously, there were calls to eliminate hiring practices that disqualify police applicants for past use of marijuana.
Something that they did as a teenager, as a college student, can permanently disqualify them from being a police officer. It is a death sentence right now to some of our applicants.
Law enforcement experts say a better way to address the shortage is to better support law enforcement.
Especially in an era when there's much more focus on police accountability and professional standards generally, it seems to run counter to that.
The legislature and also city government needs to look at is why do we have a police shortage?
I did reach out to Mayor Brandon Scott's office to see if he thinks police eligibility requirements should be changed to address the staffing issue. So far, I haven't heard back. Jessica Babb, Fox 45 News.
Tonight, we're learning a Baltimore woman has been charged in connection with the string of crimes in Prince George's County. According to police, 31-year-old Tanae Stallings Brown struck 5 people with a car and stabbed another person. Police say it started after 5 when she apparently hit a woman on the sidewalk with her car. Around 10 minutes later, they say she hit 2 others with her car, then got out of the car and stabbed a 15-year-old girl. A little before 5:30, police say the suspect hit 2 more people, 2 men with her car, and an hour later, they say she stabbed another man at a gas station. All of the victims survived. The stabbing victims, including that teenage girl, are listed in critical condition. The Prince George's County Police tracked the suspect's car to Baltimore City, where they arrested her and took her back to Prince George's County. The police chief says he's never seen anything like it.
In my more than 3 decades of policing, almost 3.5, I've rarely seen a suspect this determined across this length to inflict harm on innocent people. It's deeply disturbing. I do hope the community takes comfort in knowing that she is now in our custody.
Well, police say the suspect has a lengthy criminal history in Baltimore City dating back to 2011, including domestic violence and weapons charges. She's now facing dozens of charges, including attempted murder. A troubling Baltimore City crime trend is continuing into the new year. On the heels of more than 11,000 stolen cars in 2023, new data from BPD reveals car thefts are skyrocketing. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor breaks down the alarming new numbers.
Failing to turn the corner in the new year, Baltimore City's soaring auto thefts still driving in the wrong direction.
At first, when I found out, I was trying to believe that I had parked somewhere else.
Aerial views of the city's jam-packed impound lot capturing the troubling toll the rise in crime has had on residents.
There's like sections specifically for Hondas and Kias that were smashed.
In 2023, the city surpassing 11,000 cars stolen, a staggering 215% increase compared to 2022. Fox 45 raising concerns and calls for change from dozens of victims.
I had no idea who took it. I have no idea what happened to the people that took it. No, nothing.
It's a serious public safety hazard because these cars they're stolen. Usually it's juveniles that are doing it.
But those voices not nearly enough to convince thieves to switch gears. According to BPD, in the first 20 days of 2024, 441 cars already stolen, averaging out to 22 cars a day or almost 1 every hour. It's also a 77% increase from last year's record highs.
Those numbers are definitely alarming.
Law enforcement expert Tyrone Powers weighing in.
With young people especially, when they get hooked on a trend, they continue that trend because it's almost fun now to do it, and there's nothing that hinders them or stops them from doing it.
Last November, city leaders claiming juvenile justice reform laws, which block children under the age of 13 from being charged with nonviolent crimes, are handcuffing police.
There's 30 young people alone that have been arrested multiple times for carjackings and stolen autos.
But according to Powers,
there's not enough of an announcement of this is what we're going to do in an aggressive way.
Stronger messaging of a crackdown from BPD is the only immediate solution that could finally slow these surging thefts.
We have to make it abundantly clear that We are going to stop this behavior. If the courts and the laws let you back out the next day, then we're going to arrest you tomorrow night if you do it again.
I'm Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
And if you have a story about a stolen car or know someone who's been impacted by the spike in car thefts, we'd like to hear about it. Scan that QR code on your screen and tell us what happened, or send an email to news@foxbaltimore.com.
A top Democrat going after a popular nicotine product. I'm Janae Bowens in Washington with a look at how this could hurt their chances with Gen Z voters.
And some cloud cover has moved in, as well as some low fog emerging across the Baltimore area. Use the low beams out there. Be careful with those late travels. Otherwise, all eyes on our next weather maker. Rain system headed our way. We'll talk about when it arrives and what you can expect for Ravens game day Sunday. It's all straight ahead.